Hello. So here we are, 1 year on from the 7th of October. Today I've been having a moment of self-reflection on how I felt when I saw that news of the terrible and horrendous death and destruction that Hamas wreaks on southern Israel, right across into like a flood of a deadly parasitic disease that came straight out of the mouth of the devil. A devil which was being controlled from a from a gigantic Islamic octopus spewing its venomous ink right across the Middle East. And with that, I think I really became well, a changed person. I wasn't affected by it directly, not personally, but mentally. I felt a reawakening of some past trauma within my person, because I knew how much in the time that I have been advocating for my autistic brethren, that I was the effect that what had happened in Israel was also impairing my ability to thrive and survive. Metaphorically speaking, I may have felt the pain of the Jewish people, just so I felt the pain of what an anti-Semitic attack was like on a person from when I was in school. My journey, I actually felt a journey coming on from that, from the events of October 7th, where I became an active autistic Zionist. For years I've been an autism advocate, proudly talk about how I was an autistic conservative, but then I'd started to become more attached to my Zionist principles, and I suddenly realised just how inspirational and enhancing Zionism was to my autistic life, and I needed to make a stand up for the Jewish people, because I knew how clever the Islamic fanatics were from of Hamas, and the Palestinian militants were very good race hustlers. So good, in fact, that they were able to mentally and psychologically trick people into taking their sides here in the West, as they've done for several decades. Now, where do I... Now, yesterday I was at the memorial for the hostages in London's Hyde Park, and I proudly held up a banner declaring for the first time, declaring to the Jewish people, I'm autistic but not a Jew, and a very passionate neurodivergence for Jews. Very proud of Jews, indeed. Listening to speeches was good. What I also felt was but a desire to reflect on how we, as here in the country, had been praising the Hamas terrorists, and that there were hundreds of thousands of brainwashed young useful idiots who had spent years soaking up the toxic fruits of which had been fed to them by people who had presented themselves as liberators and freedom fighters, when they were in fact actually raging Jew haters who wanted to mass slaughter and murder people. And henceforth they ended up becoming well, useful agents wanting to kill Jewish people. God, it was a very scary time for the first few months. And around that same time, I was also still crafting my book. Now, within this book, I'd also talked about my own passion for speaking about Jewish pride in this country, and why I, as an autistic non-Jew, candidly and voraciously speak up and defend Jews so passionately. It was quite difficult for people to understand or comprehend why people were praising terrorists and had started making a fashion statement about common terrorist garbs like kafirs and Palestinian flags, and of course imprinting the red triangles. Well, I think I can reveal to you people a parable in relation to what you're being told, that Jews do not deserve to be defended in a race argument, or even in Israel to be vilified in such an extraordinary way, through the lens of an autistic person. Now, you probably heard of Charles Darwin, the man who is coined with popularising the evolution of man, which he famously talked about in his book, On the Origin of Species. I covered it in this book, and I used it to explain how and why modern social justice warriors have become so corrupted and perverse that they now fight like eugenicists, wanting to purge people socially and metaphysically from society for having politically incorrect views, or they do not fit their narrative. Well, my book certainly gives a good idea of what it looks like. Yes, that's right. But what has a book about the survival strategies of animals got to do with anything? Well, I'll tell you. Marx was an avid fanboy of Darwin, and from 1860 onwards, he read Origin of Species with such great enthusiasm that when he was formulating his socialist ideology in human civilization, he reread it several times to try and he reckoned the theory of evolution could be applied to his socialist theories, and that natural selection, the survival strategies of animals, could be shown as the basis for the class struggle, and in particular, it's related to here in the human civilization where Jews are framed as an inferior creature, or an oppressor creature in this case, because they supposedly sit at the high top of the animal kingdom, and they must be dethroned to allow for equality to occur, which of course is a false equivalence. Now, yeah, let's see. Let's look for some other examples. In that I can probably relate to the social justice narrative of fighting off who have made killing Jews or even hating Jews a popular pastime. Well, here's one idea. Yeah, modern social justice activists used to fight against racism and all sorts of other prejudices in accordance with this with the beliefs of Martin Luther King, who actively fought for civil rights alongside Jewish people, and he was an ardent Zionist, and he believed that when you attack Israel verbally or physically, you're declaring that you hate Jews, because when you say that you hate Jews or that you are an anti-Zionist, you mean anti-Semitism. The two are closely related. Well, somewhere along the track of history, towards the end of the 20th century, they changed their tactics of fighting against fighting oppression by harmonising people, and turned to a new way of doing it by a system called intersectionality. Intersectionality is a lens, according to its creator, Kimberly Crenshaw, is a lens through which can see where power comes and collides, where it locks and intersects, and it's the unique acknowledgement that everyone has their own unique experiences of discrimination and privilege, right? Well, the built-in flaw to the intersectionality lens is that it creates a system similar to the animal kingdom, where I, as an autistic man who has got a Polish grandfather, and as a white man, have got certain attributes in life in which I'm better off than another person, or worse off than another person, and henceforth I should be pitted against another person, to try and dominate or be have a liberty to attack or be horrible to that said individual group, right? And henceforth, that is why we have this crazy chaos and social disharmony that we have now. Yes, that's right. Oh yes, I remembered this from my book that I'd quoted from Origin. In Origin, Darwin describes how the survival of the fittest plays an important part in natural selection and survival instincts. Quote from Origin: as in each fully stocked country, natural selection necessarily acts by the selected form, be it Marxist or Socialist, having some advantage in the struggle for life over other forms, libertarians or conservatives. There will be a constant tendency in the improved descendants of any one species to supplant and exterminate in each stage of descent their predecessors and their original parents. It seemed probable to Darwin that the descendants, which in the Marxist cases the revolutionaries and anarchists, will have taken the places of and thus exterminated not only their parents but likewise some of the original species which related to their parents. So, in effect, what we have here, and in relation to the Israel-Palestine conflict, where we've got all this rampant anti-Semitism, the Jews are being depicted as powerful overlords, or people of such privilege and power that they must be killed or destroyed, according to the Hamas and Palestinian terrorists, in order for peace in the Middle East to occur. And my God, have they done such extraordinary and clever means of achieving such great power over the minds of weak and gullible fools here in the West? I think what we are seeing here is a social justice movement that denies Jews their humanity, and henceforth that is why our modern day anti-Semitism is working. We have become a civilization here in the West that is now frittering away our freedom at the behest to show that we are better as a collective, subservient to the Islamic republic's direction on how to be peaceful justice warriors. Well, I think that may be a very fitting metaphor for what I can say to make sense of this world in which all this Jew hatred and pestilence in Britain and across the Western world, in Europe and America, has led to. Well, here we are. I think I can safely say that I'm on the right side of history because I have educated myself and I know the truth about the Jewish people, the sticking up and defending them with the right acts of service and dedication to humanity. And I'm glad to say that I have made the right choice in speaking up for the Jewish people. I may be autistic and I may struggle with communicating my thoughts and views sometimes, but I do even though I've got it in here, and I do tend to struggle with my ability to communicate my views, I do really know a better way of thinking and a better way of valuing human nature better than any ardent socialist who is in denial about his racism and is in denial about his prejudices because he believes himself to be such a morally superior and distinctive character. Well, I do not follow a slave society, just as what I would be expected to do, as these Marxist anarchists would want me to do, just so that they can survive. And if we are all individuals who refuse to follow that enslaved to master contract, then we are able to crush the Islamic Republic, and of course this Marxist doctrine that's spewing this anti-Semitic blood libels here and there. Right, well, here we are, 1 year on from October 7. I hope the hostages return safe and sound, and those whom are dead are returned to be buried with honour and dignity, and Israel will live, and the Islamic Republic will be crushed this year or the next. Am Israel Kai.